You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bulls Postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. My name is Joe George, and in the battle of the 9 seeds between the Eastern and Western Conference, the Bulls versus the Sacramento Kings, familiar faces on both sides. The Bulls get the victory 128-116 over the Kings. The Kings were absolutely on fire to start this game, but Coby White, Nikola Vucevic, Kevin Huerter balled out in the second half to help get the Bulls the lead. We'll discuss all of that. We'll discuss facing Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan doing something that still sounds unbelievable, that he's scored 25,000 points in his career. A couple other observations. Trey Jones leaves the game. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. And Modest Puzelis' benching, it seems, from the second to late in the third quarter. All will be discussed on today's show. But let's talk about this win. The Bulls win 128-116. Monk hits 4 threes in the first quarter. He was going crazy, and so were the Kings in general. The Kings led after the first quarter 39-28. They hit 11 threes. 33 of their 39 points from the first quarter came from downtown. They were going scorched earth in the first quarter. And look, this is two teams both playing on back-to-backs. You're thinking, okay, this might be a long night for the Bulls. They might get run out of the gym again, like they did for the most part against the Phoenix Suns. And in the second quarter, it really kind of continues. You have maybe the worst play of the night where Billy Donovan gets attacked because he's upset about a non-foul call, overshadowing the worst part of the play, which is Modest Puzelis looking like a deer in headlights and having no idea who he's supposed to guard on defense. And really, when that happened, when it's 45-32, I didn't think the Bulls had a chance. Monk then at one point, he had 19 points. The Bulls were down by 19. And then the second half, we see a lineup change. Modest Puzelis not out there. Julian Phillips is. And then all of a sudden, Coby White, who only had 4 points in the first half, scores 31 points in the second half. And he had three critical and 1 plays. He started attacking at will, especially when the Kings, late in the game, switched to a small ball lineup. Obviously, Sabonis is not out there for them. He's hurt. So you think they've already got the size mismatch, but then they go small. Billy Donovan counters. Nikola Vucevic is out of the game for a long period of time just because of that. And, obviously the speed there of the Kings was a concern for Billy Donovan. But when that happened, that's really when Coby White, I felt like, took this game over. So in the start of the third quarter here, Vucevic hits a 3. It puts the Bulls down by 8, 68-60. Remember, they were down 64-55. So it's 68-60 when Vucevic hits his first 3. On the next Bulls possession, he hits another 3 to put the Bulls down by 5. They went on a 12-2 run to start the third quarter, and it was 70-69. And then Nikola Vucevic hit his third 3 of the third quarter. So Nikola Vucevic really is the one who started this thing and got it going for the Chicago Bulls there in the third quarter by hitting 3 different threes. Coby White tied it at 80. Which we're going to talk about here in a little bit as the turning point of the game, but keep kind of just rolling through what happened. Coby White gets a big and 1 after DeMar DeRozan missed 2 free throws. It put the Bulls up 83-80 when he got that and 1. It was the Bulls' first lead of the game since they were up 14-11 in the first quarter. So it had been a long time since they had a lead. And look, the Bulls got some breaks in this game. My next note here, as I'm taking my notes throughout the game, Patrick Williams gets called for a flagrant foul. Sacramento missed both free throws on that flagrant foul. So that was a huge break for the Bulls. Then Coby White gets his second and 1 of the second half to put the Bulls up by 6. And all of a sudden, it's 92-89 at the end of the third quarter. And immediately in the fourth, Coby White, here comes his third and 1 of the second half, and the Bulls are up 97-93. Coby White, 11 straight games with 20 points or more. And again, he only had 4 points in the first half. So we'll get to this right away. Our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
So I think we're good now. My mic came unplugged for a second. Coby White, player of the game. Him and Kevin Huerter both are going to be the player of the game. We're going to give out 2 for this one. Coby White, 35 points, 10 of 18 from the field, only 5 threes attempted. I like that number for Coby White. 2 for 5 from the three-point line. Most importantly, though, 13 of 14 from the free throw line. So that was absolutely fantastic. But Kevin Huerter, we're going to double it up. Yesterday, I gave it to Devin Booker. Didn't know the rules of this segment still. So today I'm giving it to 2 guys. Kevin Huerter as well. 25 points, 5 of 9 from the three-point line. Hit clutch threes himself in the fourth quarter. So he gets his revenge against the Sacramento Kings. Zach LaVine didn't get his first bucket of the game until the fourth quarter. And DeMar, yes, he got 25,000 points in this game, which is something that it's the irony of sports that I think all of us kind of love, is when storylines like that come to fruition, where you see a guy chasing such an incredible number in his career. But you see DeMar DeRozan, 25,000 points. But again, he missed 2 crucial free throws in this game that really did seem to matter in just terms of the momentum swing of this game. It obviously didn't exactly matter in the end result, but Kevin Huerter as well, locked on player of the game, him and Coby White, both. Those former guys, the former Bulls. DeMar DeRozan, 9 to 22, 22 points, a minus 21 on the night. Zach LaVine, who missed last night's game for the Sacramento Kings due to personal reasons, so hopefully whatever's going on is okay with him and his family. But 2 for 9 from the field, 1 for 6 from the three-point line, only 8 points on the night. To go that deep into the game, look, we've seen Zach LaVine, when he was a Bull this season, go deep into the second quarter without getting a bucket, but he was just kind of MIA in this game. And I think the most unbelievable stat of tonight's game, the Cardiac Bulls have been a thing. I think we just got to call them the Comeback Bulls maybe this year. For the 6th time this year, this sounds absolutely insane. For the 6th time this season, the Bulls have come back down by 17 points or more in a game. They were down by 19 points in this game tonight. To get down by that many points that often and to win these games 6 times, it's astonishing. Like, no matter what your goals for the Bulls were as a fan this season, that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to get down by that much, that frequently. And now, it works in the Bulls' favor that when they're down by 19, it's in the second quarter. The Kings are scorched earth hot, when that's happening. But to be down by that much so consistently and find a way to win, it's just one of the weirdest trends, if not the weirdest trend of the season. All right, before we get to our first break and only break of the night, let's get to our turning point of tonight's Bulls victory.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, so this is where I think the game really turned in the Bulls' favor. Not just because they got their first lead since the first quarter, but this set of possessions right here. Coby White ties it at 80, but it came off of Trey Jones drawing the offensive foul on the inbounds pass. That there gives the Bulls the ball back. Coby White ties it at 80, and then DeMar DeRozan is at the free throw line. He misses both of them, and Coby White gets the and one to put the Bulls up 83 to 80. Those 2 possessions back to back, where Trey Jones draws the offensive foul, Coby White takes advantage. DeMar DeRozan misses his free throws. Coby White takes advantage. It's why he was one of our locked-on players of the game, and it's absolutely the turning point to me of why the Chicago Bulls beat the Sacramento Kings 128 to 116 in this game. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll continue talking about the game, your reaction to it, what this means. We'll take a look at the standings, where the Bulls sit currently as well, and we'll discuss the Modest Buzelis benching, it seems, that happened in between the second and most of the third quarter as well. That's all next here on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk, rate subject to change, 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at 5 months, $5 a month for 1 year for first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate. Claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's show also brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. You never know what's going to happen if you go to a Knicks game. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the stuff and shows you the best deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I love using Game Time. If you're going to a Cubs game, if you're going there for the first time, whenever I have friends traveling to Chicago for the first time or anything like that, I always tell them, use Game Time. Use the seat viewer that they have so that way you can see if there's a giant cement pole in front of you at all times. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Again, one of the things about tonight's game, it was cool seeing DeMar DeRozan get 25,000 points. I was texting a buddy of mine who's here in the chat. Zach, what's up, man? It's one of the quietest 25,000 points we've ever seen. For a guy that doesn't shoot threes, to be the 27th player in NBA history to have 25,000 points, it's absolutely incredible. You don't think him as a guy that has scored that much. So it was cool to see it happen against the Bulls. It's obviously better that it happened in a Bulls victory. But the Bulls sit here currently as the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference. So where they stand today, coming off this back-to-back at 30-40, they sit 2 games behind the Orlando Magic, who are 32-38, and they are now a half game ahead of the Miami Heat. And look, they're still within reach, too, of the Atlanta Hawks with only 12 games to go. Unlikely, it seems, but 3.5 games back of the Atlanta Hawks for the 7th seed. So, again, if it wasn't cemented before, it is the Bulls are going to be a playing team. The Raptors are not catching them or anyone else. So that's just kind of reality at this point in the season. And again, I've been saying it now for a couple shows. Now that they're locked into the play-in, and I'm not worried about tanking because just move up the play-in seeding. Like, you've already probably ruined, your pick in terms of getting lottery odds. Ironically, doesn't it feel like this has accomplished what the Bulls front office has wanted? They got an asset for Zach LaVine, their own asset. An asset that if they would have played the way they have, they would have lost. Now, they have secured a first-round pick no matter what, even though it's outside the lottery. So while it didn't make any sense at the time, and I still fundamentally disagree with the way the Bulls season has gone since the trade deadline because of who they didn't trade, but trying to just guess in my mind what the Bulls front office was thinking, I think that this is exactly what they planned on, was they were going to be a playing team. Maybe they thought Philadelphia was going to have the injuries that they had or was going to tank it out at some point this season so they can protect their own lottery pick, and they weren't scared of the Raptors. So maybe really the whole plan from this time being when you made this 3-team trade between the Kings and the Spurs and the Bulls was that we're going to be a playing team and we need to protect our own first-round pick to make sure we have some kind of asset. Again, I disagree with it, but now that the way this is played out, they're still wrong, but they're more correct now than they were before. I hate to give them credit for anything because they don't deserve it because they still handled it wrong. And this was their approach. It seems like they at least hit it on the head that the Bulls are going to be a playing team. And you look at the Zach LaVine trade, and yes, we all think they could have got more for him, DeRozan, Caruso, all these guys they've traded away. But they secured their own first-round pick, and they need that now that it seems that they're going to be, for sure, a play-in team and not a high lottery team at all. Now, one of the things that's a negative from this game, I think besides, the first half, the Kings were just on fire. It wasn't like the worst defense. The Bulls were playing a little out of control like they were against Phoenix, and they definitely kind of gathered themselves in the second half, and that's why they were able to make this comeback. But One of the more interesting things about this game for me, because he's the number one focal point of the season the rest of the year and going forward for the Bulls, is Modest Buzelis. So in the second quarter, we've got a play here, or in the first quarter, sorry. It was the second quarter. My bad. Reading's hard. Billy Donovan gets a tech because he's upset about a call that Trey Jones did not get on one end. He's screaming, he's yelling, he's chirping at the refs nonstop. The refs let this play out for the Sacramento Kings. And I think what eventually led to the tech was the frustration of the play, but also what happened with Modest Buzelis on the floor happening at the exact same time. Modest does this thing where the Kings start to pass the ball around the arc, and he's just moving from guy to guy to guy, but every guy he goes to, there's a Bulls play already. He just looked lost. He had no idea what was happening where he was supposed to go defensively. And to his defense, I'm not there. I'm not a coach. I don't know what the Bulls are doing in terms of deep dive plans on defense. Technically, one of those guys could have been Modest's and another player made a mistake. But based on what the stats say, aka Modest Buzelis checked out with about 7.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter and didn't return until about 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the third quarter. What happened on that play was clearly the fault of Modest Buzelis. And look, I'm all for Billy Donovan keeping him accountable for his actions. I've been saying I want him to stay in the starting lineup. I do think we're starting to teeter on the idea of that having to change, or at least the expectation of that from Billy Donovan. Seeing him sit for that long makes me feel like Billy Donovan might be at his point where he's kind of ready to put Modest back on the bench a little bit. Now, Josh Giddey obviously didn't play in this game, expected to return in the next one. It felt overly optimistic yesterday afternoon before the game or early last night when they were saying he was going to play in this back-to-back. That kind of felt stupid. It felt unnecessary to do something like that. But he's expected to be back for the next game. Trey Jones got hurt at the end of this game, kind of a non-contact injury, which is a little concerning. So maybe that changes some of the calculus on this. But as much as I want them to keep starting Modest, like seeing him leave the game for that long after what seems to be a defensive miscue just makes me wonder if Billy Donovan's going to strongly disagree if we had a conversation about my sentiment of leaving him in the starting lineup. So I'll be curious to see as this West Coast trip continues. The Bulls are now 2-2 on this 6-game trip. If Modest continues to be in the lineup, and we'll see what it looks like if Trey Jones is now hurt and Josh Giddey returns. So the Bulls, frankly, can't catch a break injury-wise. They have 100 guards on the roster, so it's been okay. They've dealt with Lonzo and Josh Giddey and Trey Jones and all these guys now getting dinged up because there's so many guards. Io, of course, as well, not to miss him, obviously being out for the rest of the season. So losing a guard is not the end of the world for this team because there's just so many. But I really liked what Trey Jones is brought. And as we did that turning point of the game, again, like it was a offensive foul that was drawn by Trey Jones on an inbounds pass. That was really the thing that started to change the momentum of this game. All right, before we wrap up, let's get to what you'll be talking about after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I think people after this game will be saying, thank goodness the Bulls traded Zach LaVine. I think that's the takeaway from this game. Besides again, 6th time the Bulls have come back from down by 17 or more in a game this season, I think the other thing is people are watching this game tonight and they're like, I'm kind of glad that Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are no longer members of the Bulls, even though, frankly, maybe the Bulls would have been better off keeping them based on the way the season went if you wanted them to totally tank this thing out. All right, that will do it for this episode of the Locked On Bulls Postcast. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Make sure for the audio, you come on over to the Locked On Bulls audio feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can hit that subscribe button or hit the follow button as it is now on Apple. Check us out there. Our audio is available. So is the Locked On Bulls YouTube channel. Their audio for their 5 days a week that they go and do their show. They're doing great Bulls content every single day. So hit that subscribe button or follow button there on Apple and Spotify. My name's Joe George. We will talk to you after the next Bulls game. Thanks for watching. Peace.